As much as we want to think that glowing up, losing weight, whatever it is purely just an external thing, it's very much internal as well. I did not just improve my appearance, I changed from the inside out. So like the internal changes caused the external changes. So this is why I think it's so important to focus on your mindset. The internal shifts, those matter just as much as the external shifts, and they kind of just coincide together. The internal helps the external change. So I'm going to show you what I did to glow up both internally and externally. I've been putting a lot more effort into filming long form content because I want to just give you guys as much value as humanly possible and help you on your own journeys. So subscribe. Also, if you need some more in-depth advice, I've created guides that are really in-depth. They'll give you the roadmap to either losing weight without tracking calories, or my other guide is called the Glow Up Blueprint. Those are linked below, but let's get into it. 4 months ago, 5 months ago, something like that, I started honing in on changing the way that I viewed myself. I had noticed this pattern over the past 6 or so years where I was just putting myself down all the time. I saw my identity as being someone who was just not that great. And as sad as that is to say, it showed externally and it carried through to every single area of my life. I was holding myself back without even realizing it, by viewing myself in a really negative light, and that's in your control. That was in my control. So I started working really hard at changing how I viewed myself. So I got into the law of assumption, I got into embodiment, I got into nervous system regulation, and I rewired limiting beliefs. And these things just really, it changed me fundamentally. I still do this stuff every single day. So the law of assumption is assuming that you already have the end result. Essentially, that's how I understand it. But let's say my ideal version of myself was someone who makes a lot of money, who's skinny, and has a massive social media platform, okay? Which is like pretty in line with what I want and what I've been working towards. So I'm going to behave, think, act as if it's already true. And that's a really simplified version of what you actually have to do. It's not necessarily that black and white, but it kind of is. So like every single morning, I visualize and I affirm who it is I want to be. So let's say she's skinny, she has a beautiful big apartment, and she gets to wake up whenever she wants. Let's say that's the version of myself. I set a 5-minute timer and I visualize that reality and I feel into it. Like, what would it feel like in those moments living in that life? I would probably feel pretty calm about money. I wouldn't be afraid to spend money. I wouldn't be constantly worrying about how I'm going to make enough money. I would also be really confident in my body. I would just feel sure of myself. And so once I've really felt into that, I carry that feeling with me throughout the rest of the day. And I have to check back in with myself frequently and try to bring up that feeling again. For instance, I was really afraid to check my bank account before, or if there was a bill that I needed to pay, I would put off paying it because I was afraid. Honestly, I've never lived on the streets before. I've always been safe. I've always been protected. I've always been secure. I just haven't felt that way internally. And so I conjure up the feeling of that security, and that's the place in which I act from. So in terms of like my body or my appearance, even on my worst days, even when I'm like bloated, puffy, feeling disgusting, I will try to bring about the feeling as if I am completely secure in the way that I look, and I'll bring that feeling of security with me. I hope that this makes sense. Something that really helps with this is daily affirmations. So sometimes I'll set a 5-minute timer and I'll just think through all these affirmations. I am valuable. People love to hear my thoughts and opinions. I am well respected. I am well received. I love my body. Whatever it is, I'll repeat those things in my head. And I really try to, again, feel into those and let those settle in my body. I put a lot of energy and intentional time into building my self-concept to be better. And when I say it has changed my life in such a short period of time, the people that you see, that you respect, that seem so confident, that love themselves, that are doing amazing things in the world, they've built their self-concept. And maybe they had parents that helped them to build that positive self-concept to begin with, or maybe they built it themselves. So as you're doing this work, you will come up against these limiting beliefs. You'll come up against the sabotagey behavior sometimes. You'll kind of revert back into your old self, and that's okay. But this is where I bring in both limiting belief rewiring and nervous system regulation. So I do breath work every morning as well. And again, this takes me like 15 minutes. I'll do breath work or meditation, and then I do visualization, and then I do affirmations, and I set a 5-minute timer for each. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. But breath work really helps. I love 4-7-8 breathing. So you breathe into your diaphragm, into your belly, hold for 7 seconds, and then breathe out for 8 seconds slowly. Also, daily walks outside without your phone are pure mental health gold. I do this every morning. I don't go on my phone until I come home from my walk. Like I'll walk for like 50 minutes, 60 minutes, something like that. So usually for the first 30 minutes or so, my mind is just like there's thoughts spilling out of my mind, for lack of a better way of explaining this. And then for the second half of that walk, I'm just like at peace. I feel calm. I feel regulated, and by the time I get home, I'm just ready to start my day. I feel amazing, and I literally think of it like it's my mental health walk. Okay, so now we've talked about the internal shift, and like I said, it helps support the external shift. So the changes that I made externally with the help of a calm nervous system, a better self-concept, embodying the version of myself that I know I can become, then it was way easier for me to change my actual habits. So I started to think, now that I knew it was possible for me to be a better version of myself because I embodied that feeling and I really can tell that's a possibility for me. Now I act as if I am her. What would she do every day? How would she eat? What kind of workouts would she do? You use your higher self as your guide to improve. So for instance, I know that I want to be, I have like 10 more pounds to lose. This is just a preference for me. And so when I put together a meal, I think like, okay, how would my 10 pounds lighter version of myself eat? She's gonna prioritize protein. She's not gonna be obsessive about food. She's not gonna restrict herself too much. She's just like calm and regulated around food. She doesn't stress too much. She doesn't eat when she's super stressed. She doesn't eat when she's bored. She eats to fuel herself. She feels light after her meals. She doesn't bring food around with her just in case she gets hungry. She's just not that worried about it. She's just like chill. She's chill. So I eat like her. Also, let's say the version of myself that makes really good money. Is she sleeping until noon every day? Is she putting off her responsibilities? Or is she like overly obsessing over her responsibilities and burning herself out? Probably not that either, because I didn't feel that way when I was doing like law of assumption work. I felt calm and secure. I feel into that and I act from that place. So I handle my responsibilities. I work hard, but I also let myself rest and enjoy my life. That's what I believe my higher self that has her shit together, is making amazing money, all of that is feeling like every day. Because I wouldn't even want to be the super high strung, anxious, stressed version of myself that's making a lot of money. I would rather make less money and feel calm. Then I take good care of myself. I get my hair done, I get my nails done, I take the time to do my makeup, I appreciate the things that I already own and I try to make good use of them, but I also let myself buy clothing items that would make me feel more confident sometimes. And from this place, I can make more intelligent, grounded decisions instead of being desperate to change myself all of the time. I hope you can see the difference between the energy of desperately needing to change, hating yourself, and wanting to be someone different and trying to make improvements to yourself from that place, versus loving yourself, appreciating yourself, and feeling into that higher version of yourself, and then making grounded, calm decisions from that place. It's just different. You're gonna get better results every single time. So to summarize for you, to make this very simple, the first thing you're going to work on is embodying the highest version of yourself, visualizing who that is, affirming the qualities that you want to develop as if they're already yours. So saying things like, I am beautiful, I am appreciated, I'm valuable now as I am. So the second step is prioritizing nervous system regulation, rewiring limiting beliefs, making sure that your system is just regulated and ready to move on to the next step. And then the third step, make small changes one by one, take it slow, ask yourself throughout the day, what would that highest version of myself be doing in this moment? And calmly develop these new habits from a place of stability, groundedness. I hope that all of this makes sense, and I hope that it gave you even just the slightest shift in your mindset so that you can go about glowing up, losing weight, improving yourself from a more regulated place where you're showing yourself appreciation and care instead of being so hard on yourself. Again, my guides are linked in the description. Subscribe and like the video if you found it helpful. I will talk to you guys very, very soon.